Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm in the office, taking care of business, paying bills as usual, mind, body, and soul. This is how we get through. I got a fairly busy schedule tomorrow, Saturday, life coaching and mentoring. I do calls all day on Saturdays. If you want to get on my schedule, just go check out my website. I always put it below in every single video. Let's just philosophize a little bit. Let's talk about the difference between justice and revenge. There's a difference, but sometimes it's a fine line, and I've walked that line. I've gotten confused in this topic where I thought that I was seeking justice, but what I was really doing was seeking revenge. You're allowed to have justice. Justice is a God-given right, at least in my opinion, in my view. Revenge is a sin. Revenge sends you to hell. Revenge is evil. You're not allowed to take revenge. That's not a right that you have. When you think you have a right to take revenge, what you're doing is you're playing God, which is a double sin. So then you're going to pretend to be God, a sin within itself, and then you're going to go and commit an act of revenge, another sin. And then the violent act that you commit, or whatever you're doing, you might triple sin. You've just got a fast pass right to hell. Justice is hard. Justice isn't always what we want it to be. You can remember being a kid. If you have siblings, maybe your sibling didn't get punished in the way that you had hoped. We've all been there. You hope that person gets punished, and they didn't really. And you feel like, well, justice wasn't served. They hit me. You're supposed to punish them. Mom comes in and just says, hey, don't do that. Ground them, spank them, do something. Isn't that what justice is we want someone to do something? Justice is not objective, it's subjective, because there's no solid line of where justice is. It's just how you feel. Now you feel like justice has been served. When will justice be served? Well, I don't know. I guess I'll just have to see how I feel. My father was murdered in 1991 in a gang war. My dad was a gangster, a known gangster. And the guy who murdered him was a gangster, a known gangster. And they were in a gunfight. My dad had a .357, and the other guy had a shotgun. Shotgun won. If you wonder who wins that fight, the shotgun wins that fight. Shotguns are a good weapon to have. My dad died on the operating table as they were pulling out the little pellets. If the guy had shot him with a slug or something like that, it might have been easier. Sure, it would have been a big giant hole, but it might have been easier to save him. All those little pellets, he just bled to death. The man who killed my father, he got 4 years in prison. He claimed self-defense. And he got that self-defense case. He won that. But he got 4 years because he was a convicted felon himself. He was a known gangster and had felonies, and had to do 4 years because he was in possession of a shotgun. He wasn't allowed to be. He shouldn't have been. There's hardly any justice in that. When I was 20 years old when all this happened, and I couldn't believe it. 4 years? The guy shoots my dad and all he gets is 4 years? Doesn't even get the murder charge? Self-defense? Now, you can analyze the case. My reaction as a 20-year-old knucklehead, idiot with mental problems, was to go berserk. I couldn't believe it. I was furious for years. Mad at the government, mad at the justice system. I had come to all kinds of conclusions with it, using this case as the example. There is no justice. There's never any justice. Not for people like me. Not for people like us. And I felt like I needed to have some street justice. Maybe I should handle the guy who killed my father. He was still alive. I don't know if he's alive now. This was many years ago. But at the time, I was only a couple years into the whole thing, and I felt like, well, if the courts aren't going to do anything about it, if the cops aren't going to do anything about it, then I guess I have to. Street justice. But isn't street justice just playing God? Right? Oh, no, I'm not going to wait for his judgment. I'm not going to wait for him to die naturally. That's too good for him. I'm going to send him there. I'm going to give the justice that I think should have been dealt to him. But I had a whole plan. I hatched a whole plan. And I didn't do it for all the little feds that watch my channel. I didn't do it. If little Mike got taken out, it wasn't by me. From what I heard, he survived his little 4 years in prison just fine, got out and went back and lived in his little house. He might have lived a natural life for all I know. Murderer, shot my dad. But I have to come to the conclusion that justice was served. I had to forgive little Mike. I had to. No one forced me to. But I had to do it in order to get past it. I wasn't going to hate him forever. I wasn't going to let him rent space in my head forever. I wasn't going to dwell on his actions forever. I was going to move on with my life. Because I had my own destiny. My destiny wasn't to seek revenge upon little Mike. It was to move forward with my life. And I feel like that my father would have liked that. If my father could have talked to me from the ghost world, I'm sure he would have said, look, don't trip. Just move forward with your life, whatever your little plan was. Marry that chick that you're all about, go to college, whatever it is you're trying to do that. My situation has nothing to do with you, don't get involved. I know that's what he would have said. But I was hell-bent on revenge for a little while. Because I felt like that was justice. My revenge isn't an act of evil, it's an act of righteousness. I'm going to do what God and the justice system, the judges and the courts couldn't do. So I get it. It's a tough one. But as I've gotten older and more mature and understand the legal system better, it's not that I worship it, and there's still cracks and holes and flaws in the legal system. Absolutely. There's people in prison that don't belong there. There's court cases that get solved and judgments issued in the wrong way. It happens. Our system is not perfect. But our justice system is pretty good when you look at justice systems throughout the ages, through different empires. It's not bad, it's not awful, it's not the worst. In fact, the American justice system is the best thing going. I dare anybody to find anything better. I'm a patriot. I love this country. And I support police, I support judges, I support our system, I support the government. I absolutely do. I am not an anti-government radical extremist, even though I have been in the past. But as I've grown up, I understand justice like a father understands justice. You don't take revenge upon your son. You may have a really fucked up son. Your son might steal from you. Your son might stand up to you and want to fight you, like some kind of a punk. That happened to my buddy. He's gangster. Latin King for 30 years, shot caller in the Latin Kings. He's more gangster than most people I've ever met in my life. Been through so many federal prisons. He's got a list of federal prisons. Oh, I've been to that one, been to that one, been to that one. They put him on diesel therapy. And his 17-year-old son stepped to him. His 17-year-old son's a big boy. He's big Puerto Rican. And he's telling me this story, and he's just like, I can't believe it. He's like, I've been in riots in Sing Sing. You know the things I've done in my life, and this little chump has the guts, the balls to step up to me. He's like, I could kill him like that. But he doesn't. It's his son. Punishing your son is never about revenge. It's only about justice. You make them work. You make them sit in the corner, or whatever it is that your punishment is. Every dad has their own little version of how they get down. But it's about justice. Let me teach you what's right and what's wrong. That's what it's about. Justice is about right and wrong, not revenge. It's not about settling a score. Settling a score is revenge. This whole idea of making things even, this karma, you use karma just to seek revenge. Think about a biblical justice. God forgives. Isn't that the craziest thing ever? Jesus forgives. Why the heck would he go around doing that? That seems like the dumbest thing ever. He should go around with his laser beam eyes just killing people. Zap, zap, you're bad, zap, 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 zap. That's what I'd do if I was Jesus. Oh, you'd be screwed if Sky was Jesus. It'd be a whole different book. No, he goes around like some kind of hippie. Forgiving people. Where's the justice and forgiveness? I forgave the man who murdered my father. Some of you can't understand it. When I tell that to people, they truly don't get it. And when I did that, it made me stronger. It didn't make me weaker. It made me happier, not sadder. To forgive a murderer who stole my father from me helped me move forward. I realized at some point, I don't know when, but I realized at some point that I'm not going to play God anymore. I'm going to play my role. I'm going to play my position. I'll be a soldier in his army. I don't need to be the general. I don't need to be God. I don't need that much responsibility. I don't need to be the judge and the jury. I don't need to make everything right in all the land. Little Mike who killed my dad will get his when he dies. He'll have to meet his maker and answer for all his sins. You don't escape that one. Food for thought.